welcome to the Nirvana Strength Practitioners Panel Podcast. I'm Ian MacLeod, the co-founder of Nirvana Strength, and on today's episode, we're going to be joined by the man himself, Mike Vestil. Actually, he's got a lot going on in his life, and he's going to share a little bit with you guys, and everything from YouTube to Instagram to entrepreneurship to speaker to maybe a book.
Drug dealer.
No,
I'm joking. Yeah, there's a book. Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe book coming. Okay. So
no, it's already out.
It's out already.
Yeah.
Second book. The second edition.
No, the first one.
First one.
Yeah, the first one's like super old though. I made it like 2 years ago.
Yeah. It's a book. I don't have a book. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So today's podcast is being recorded at the Haven Suites Bali BERAWA Hotel, which is located in a prime location in Canggu, Bali. It will help make your vacation epic, and this room that we're in is pretty epic.
Pretty
actually.
Dope.
Yeah, I think it's like the family suite or something.
Yeah.
You get a massive
I could see someone raising a family in here.
So this podcast is doesn't necessarily have to be health or fitness focused, right? We're just focused on human performance optimization, right? So how do you become the best version of yourself? So Mike, maybe give a quick bio of yourself, and then we'll kind of talk about what you're doing in your life to thrive, and not just survive this thing we call life, right?
Yeah, man. So to sum up my entire story really short, I remember my entire life I was supposed to be either a doctor, dentist, nurse, engineer, lawyer, or just disowned from like an Asian family. I didn't really have...
Your parents are from where?
Philippines.
Okay.
Yeah, like they won't even feed you if you don't...
You're a doctor, nothing else, yeah.
Or we won't feed you, right? Yeah. So my entire life I was just in that path. Then of course, kind of like, much like yourself, you start questioning the things that you were taught, the things that you were supposed to do, the box that you were like imprinted in. So at around 18 or 19, I started getting good at selling stuff online, right? It could be grill mats, barbecue gloves.
On eBay or something like that?
Everything, yeah. Well, before that, I would do some direct sales.
Yeah.
So I would do a bunch of like, I remember it was like direct sales and a little bit of network marketing. You see a lot of those people like running around selling their oils here in Canggu. It's like pretty funny.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was like the first time I started actually thinking different, right? Because, for example, everything that we're doing right now, human optimization, most people don't think about that because they're just focusing on reacting to everything that's going on in their life, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, everybody's life tends to be so stressful with regards to reacting to their job. Maybe they're just taking public transport and worried about some dude like pulling out his wanker in front of you.
Yeah, that's like the biggest thing.
Yeah.
And I remember I went to this event, and it was the first time that I started seeing other people that were questioning their jobs, their lives, that I started studying. And I remember I think I was like 18 years old. I was reading up on meditation, and I was in college trying to meditate. And I remember back in the day, like when I was 18, no one really meditated in college. It wasn't this yoga thing. It didn't really have that sex appeal. And I remember I was just already trying to focus on mastering my mind. Because the moment, like, you ever like sit down and just chill in your own thoughts, and then you realize, holy crap, some of these thoughts that I'm thinking are actually really, really negative?
Yeah, I mean, you definitely started off this exploration of yourself and self-realization a lot earlier than I did. You know, when I was in university playing football and stuff, like I was just so concerned with I was working all the time, and then playing sports, and then in my free time whenever I had something, and I was just basically trying to escape from the world by drowning myself in alcohol. And we do this in so many university students just drink. I think my sophomore year, our university was ratio wise, we were number one in the nation in liquor consumption. Just partied so much. So the idea of like meditating when I was like 20, 21, like it just didn't come across to anybody really. So that's a really cool thing, man.
But it was really weird because I would meditate, and then when I would focus on reading all these books, I would then go back to my friends and I couldn't relate to them. So then I would actually have to get drunk. So I'm not like this guru on the mountain, like, man, he was meditating at 18. There was such a disconnect between me and my friends and my family that I actually reverted to alcohol, even though I was like trying to focus on myself. It was so backwards.
Were you always quite outgoing?
No.
So I was man, super
super
shy. Like I couldn't even talk to women. Like, and alcohol for me it helped me just relax and not have to like always be self-conscious about my actions and what I was doing.
Well, it's like the perfect excuse, right? If you say something bad, then you're, oh, it's alcohol. Yeah. But when you're sober, you say something bad, you have to own it, you know? And you have to realize, like, holy crap, I can't hide behind anything. They either have to like me or not, and then I have to just deal with the consequences, right? Yeah. And so for there, I was in college. I ended up dropping out my first year of dental school. So I got accepted into this accelerated dental program where I would become a dentist within 7 years. I would have to do...
That's accelerated.
Yeah, accelerated. 7 years, right? So I would have to do 3 years undergrad and then 4 years of dental school. I got the 3 years done. Yeah. And the first year of dental school, I ended up leaving. I'm like, okay, can I get my diploma because I finished the 3 years? They're like, no, you have to finish 1 year of dental school before we give you your piece of paper. So I'm like, I'm not going to spend $60,000 for just this piece of paper and not complete the dentist thing. Yeah. So I ended up leaving. Was super sad, super depressed. I was selling stuff on eBay, just like doing a bunch of odd things to make money online. But just through mentorship, focusing on finding the right people, because I realized I didn't know what I didn't know. I had to find people that either had the lifestyle that I wanted. I started seeking these people out either online or messaging groups, and really just found ways to add value to them, to the point where they would start teaching me the tools of the trade of online marketing, right? And from there, I ended up scaling some eBay business, some Amazon businesses, but it really hit when I started getting into like paid advertising. And instead of depending on other marketplaces, you kind of create your own demand with advertising. That ended up going really big. It did 0 to 1.5 million in sales in 12 months. Yeah. And from that's kind of when I was like, okay, I need to leave. Like once it started scaling, I was like, okay, I need to leave America because it wasn't conducive for me. And that's kind of when I went on this like entire soul-seeking journey that I'm still basically on right now, to really kind of what you were talking about, optimize me as a human being, right? Not only to just make money, not only to just like look sexy naked, but to really be a happy person that is fulfilled, that is surrounded by an amazing community, right. And that doesn't end up breaking myself if I accidentally slip on a banana peel, like we were talking about in our podcast, right?
Yeah. So I do find it quite interesting with a lot of people, and it sometimes takes them a really long time. They'll focus on like making money, and then they make a ton of money, and then they're like, okay, now what? Do I just keep going and make more money? Or do I get a really good-looking body, and then once I get the good-looking body, it's like, okay, now what? Does it just end at that point? I think it's really cool that you're able to just continue the process and looking for how can you get better and get better and get better. But going back to the very beginning of your process, right, where you're like seeking out people and you're trying to actively add value to them, instead of just, because I definitely had quite a few situations where people are wanting to further their education, but they do it by, they'll say something like, oh, just like, can I just take out your garbage and I'll help you that way? Like, how did you find specific things that actually helped the people in their own specific ways, that essentially like encourage them to then want to help reciprocate, right?
Yeah, so I would always like think about it from their perspective, because for example, we're all trying to reach our goals, right? And the problem with most people, if they're not just like this crazy unicorn that is just rare amongst most of us mere mortals, is they don't have all aspects of their life figured out, right? So for example, for me, when I was 18, only focusing on my health was good. I was shredded. I weighed 195 pounds. I deadlifted 415 pounds. I benched 315 pounds. Yeah. But when it came to my confidence, it was almost like me overcompensating, right? Kind of like the guy at the bar that's like, oh, I have this nice watch. I have this like, and the girl's like, get the hell out of here, right? Yeah. I was shy. I was nervous. and I had no business. Or when I was focused on my business, my health deteriorated, and my relationships were horrible. Or when I took some of that money and I lived in Vegas for 30 days to focus on my love life, everything else just like got destroyed, right? So it's very hard. Like, I wouldn't say that I have everything figured out, because I'm like 25 and I'm still trying to figure out what I actually want out of life. What am I going to do? What I was put on this earth to do. But most people that are in any aspect of their life, they'll only have either their health or their wealth. They might not have love and happiness, right? It's like, out of health, wealth, love, and happiness, they'll probably have at most 2 or 3. So before even getting in contact with them, if they're not someone that you could just meet up and like go to Nirvana gym and be like, oh yeah, how's it going, man? And then ask them questions, which is, by the way, like, your gym, man, and everyone that I meet, everyone just cares about giving and adding value without actually any taking. It's amazing. Yeah. That's one of the reasons why I'm always there now. Just because the people there are just the highest caliber, right?
No, it's good to have you. And I think, it's part of, I think for a lot of people, it tends to be the environment that they're in, where they're always under the assumption that it's like, okay, this person is, even if someone's doing good for you, you're always in the back of your head, it's okay, what does this guy want? Like, what is he? He wants something. He wants something from me. But I do find, at the gym, like, so many people are coming from a very, like, genuine interest in wanting to help people get better, and to, in a true sense of, like, the word of, like, a tribe, in that everybody in the community wants to help the community, and sure, like, but people just generally know that by helping the others in the community that they're helping themselves, because it's the same with, like, networking, like, if you network and you build good relationships, like, even if we had, like, you had a business that I really needed to help my business grow, even if your business was, maybe your services were more expensive than someone else's, like, just because we have a really good personal connection and good network, like, I know that I don't have to worry about having a shit job done, or
you know where I live.
Yeah, so you know where I'll definitely find you. Yeah.
Well, man, it's like insane though, because at your gym, it's some of the most intimidating people too that you would have never approached in a million years. Like, you see Daryl, he's literally huge, giving me advice on how to stretch. Or Dom with big gauges, and he literally hunts animals with his bare hands, right? Only eats meat, just giving you advice on nutrition. And it's not like the ego advice where, like, you're at the gym back in the States, and you're like, yo, bro, you gotta, like, do the squat a little bit more, and he's doing it more for him than you. But man, it was just amazing. And I think back to the question that you asked, is one of the biggest things is, number one, to add value, but it has to be a very specific value.
Right.
So in most networking events when I go to, even if I'm having a good time, or people might think that I'm drunk when I'm not, I'm just like freaking crazy at social events. One of the biggest questions, if there's someone that I want to meet, that I want to add value to, I'll just ask them 2 questions. And that is, number 1, what is the thing that you're most excited about in life? Number 2, what is your biggest pain point right now in your life? And for me, based on just networking as much as possible, I know that I could either solve one of their pain points, or fuel one of their passions, or connect them to somebody that can solve that. When in essence, you're almost like capturing the value in not a sociopathic way, right? You're like, okay, this person needs this person. I'm just going to introduce them and then just get the hell out.
Yeah.
And for some reason, like, it's like this concept that I really think, like, it's called the U Army.
Okay.
Where when you add so much value to so many people, and you then state your intention, even if you don't have the answer, even if you don't know the person, just from the degrees of separation, and you're with a good group of people, they may know somebody that could then solve your problem. Kind of like the mastermind principle, right? Which Edison, Henry Ford, Rockefeller did. They didn't have to be the smartest people in the world. He just pressed one button and he could get any answer or solve any problem with someone that he knows, either in his immediate network or one of his friends' networks.
Right. And having a good network is such an important aspect of life, because there's no way that one person can know everything to the degree that they I don't know, like as to a specialist, right? I mean, specialists are specialists for a reason. Like that's the biggest focus that they have. But having a general knowledge of like knowing who or what makes the best, author, or what makes the best anyone in any particular field. I find that people who are really good, no matter what the arena, tend to approach their craft in very similar ways. Have some very similar values and principles. Not that those values and principles apply to other aspects of their life, but at least to their specific craft, it will. Mm-hmm. And that's why for me, I always have if I ever have the opportunity to listen to a high, performer, practitioner, no matter what the field it could be in, like breakdancing. I have really no interest in breakdancing, but
really. I know a lot of Koreans that are really good at breakdancing.
They're
so good. They make you feel inadequate at the dance floor, like you're just doing your hitch move, you know?
Well, you don't really see them so much like on the regular dance floor. You go to competitions and see them. But yeah, I mean, you understand what I mean, right?
Yeah. It's one of the biggest things that I've learned, and kind of like what your mindset was with that, is some of the best inventions were when people in one industry would kind of like peek over the veil into a different industry, kind of like, for example, you're in the movement industry and the fitness industry, yet if you peered over at the breakdancing community, well, you'd be lying to not say that they have something in their flexibility while also having strength, while also having crazy movement and dexterity where they're actually not getting injured if you see these people.
Well, there's definitely, because there's definitely a lot of high impact stuff that they do.
Yeah.
Right? How can you put your entire body weight onto your, fingers?
You be Asian and weigh 30 pounds.
Well, that's part of it. Definitely helps, yeah. But I mean, the idea of optimizing, right, is that you need to go outside the box, and you can't just think inside of a system, because the system in itself, just the word system, means that it's going to be very limited, right? And
or who's to say that the system isn't already broken, but people are just copying that system because that's just what they've been taught this entire time.
Yeah, very true. I mean, there's so many people. I mean, there's even a fitness industry where you can get like 20 certifications for all these different exercise programs, TRX. You can get a yoga cert. You can get all the certifications you want, but the problem is that each certification is in itself a system, and if you can't separate the good parts of it from the bad parts and find what is you're able to actually apply to your own unique industry or your own unique niche, then you're just going to end up being like everybody else.
Yeah. Who's even creating these certifications? I feel like that's the business to get into.
They're all, I mean, for the most part, like these fitness and health so-called professionals, that they're all business people. And they're all business
standard.
People So like in November, there's like a business, like fitness summit, and the entire summit is just all the business owners of these health gyms, of these health organizations. And you find that a lot of these big-time health professionals, so-called professionals,
don't even know what they're talking about.
They're so fat, or they're so like not flexible, or like they just like don't. You look at them and you're like, you're not in the health profession.
It's like asking a fat person how to get a six-pack. You know?
Yeah.
Like, hey, bro, how'd you look so sexy naked? Like, what? What are you talking about? This thing? But like, I was talking to a friend on the beach the other day. She was talking about getting certified for yoga. I'm like, okay, well, what certifies you to be able to teach yoga teacher training? And she's like, oh yeah, I just go to this website and I fill out a form and then I just give them money. I'm like, what? Like, there's no like I could go in. There was this other person that literally looked like Jesus on the beach. I'm like, bro, do you know how easy it is to get like a yoga cert? You just go to this website, put in your thing, and I'm like, we can open up like the Jesus Buddha yoga training for people. Like, there's no like, and who's to say that that's a standard, right?
Yeah.
Like, I have this Indian friend that was saying, dude, the Western way of doing yoga is not how we do yoga. I'm like, damn. So it gets to the point with...
a lot of it now is just marketing, right? I mean, think about, even now we got all the yoga brands, clothing brands. I mean, Lululemon, though, I really do like their clothing.
Yeah, they got
their marketing is to, yogis, and I think even was like the CEO or something got in trouble because he was like, someone asked him, why don't they make bigger size clothing? And he was like, well, our clothes are not for like fat people. And there was a huge backlash on him for saying something like that. But But yeah, all the clothing brands, you know, obviously they're playing towards certain branding, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, what are you working on now with regards to your fitness, your health?
My fitness, like it's very, like it changes a lot, right? Like for example, when I was younger, it was just more focused on strength. For now, I think my biggest focus right now is not only, of course, to like look physically appealing, right? That's always like a plus. But the second thing is more for just really being more in control of my body, right? Like one of the biggest things is I'm starting to realize as I'm getting older is human beings are a very fragile like animal, right?
Oh, very much
the
so.
Most fragile, man. And I don't want to have one little accident just bettering me for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
So before, when I was younger, I would just live with my ego, man. Like I remember I was like lifting, like this is when I was like getting really, really heavy. I was 195 pounds. I was just eating rice and chicken all the frickin' time. I was so heavy that I started just breathing heavy when I was sitting.
You walk up the stairs and you're like...
Not even walking up the stairs.
Just sitting down.
I would just be sitting, and then my sister would look over at me, and then you just hear this noise. And she's like, why are you snoring when you're awake? I'm like, as I'm just like shoving more potatoes in my mouth.
Yeah.
And I got so freaking heavy and like focused too much on the ego side, which is just a strength, which is what most men in their youth really just care about is how can I almost felt inadequate if somebody had a bigger bench or deadlift than me. That's how I felt.
That was like the measuring tool, right?
That was, right?
How big is your bench?
And your weight. Like if I dropped less than the weight than my friend, I would just be unworthy of love. Basically, I would just be like, my mom wouldn't feed me or something like that. And I remember it got to the point where, this is a weird story, where I was at the gym. I had 415 pounds. So for all the UK peeps out here, like 200-ish kilos. Yeah. Right? I'm like around 195 pounds. So it's like a little bit more than double my weight. I remember I put the belt so freaking tight. And I'm like looking at everyone because I was one of those dudes, those assholes that would just grunt like really loud just so that everyone can look at me. Yeah. So all the times I didn't feel loved or whatever, like they could give me some attention right now, right? Yeah. It was super egotistical in my youth. Dude, I lifted the weight up and my belt was so tight and the weight was so heavy and there was so much pressure and I screamed so damn loud. I was almost like at Super Saiyan 3 at this point, right? Yeah. And I heard this noise. It was just like... And I was so freaking scared. I was like, damn, did I just like shit out my intestines? And I just dropped the weight. And then when I just made sure that I was like still standing, because that's like scary when you hear that noise and you have that much weight. Dude, it was actually a fart. Like when you're lifting that much weight, your butt is so freaking like it just sews itself shut, right? Yeah. Dude, that scare alone made me realize, okay, maybe I should just focus on movement and mobility.
Well, good thing it was just a fart. I mean, there's definitely
I don't know if
they're still up on YouTube, but there were some videos that you could find where people are like they're doing like 1,000-pound back squat and they literally just shit out their intestines.
Why though? Why?
Like seriously, like their intestines just come out.
Just out, just like that.
And it's like there's other stuff too. Like I mean, there's tons of like gym fails or whatever where people are just like
intestines.
They're bench pressing without maybe warming up properly, whatever, and then they tear their pec, and
the weight falls on top of them.
Yeah. Or I mean, just really kind of dangerous situations where people just like getting massively hurt.
What's the reason behind that? Because like for example, like we get into lifting most of the times, like before we are maybe more higher consciousness, when we're like in our more primitive stage, we're just like, oh, I just want to like get a six pack so I can get girls, or that was kind of like my thing, right? And then we start getting stronger and stronger and stronger, and we get to the point where we realize when we have a good bench press, we're not actually attracting more girls in our crowd. We're just getting more dudes like, yo, bro, how'd you get such a nice chest? How'd you
think about
when did it switch?
Let's say like in a time when there was like no actual gyms, right? Yeah. There was never a bench press. Like when would you ever actually perform the similar movement of a bench press?
Yeah.
I mean, you maybe fall on the ground, but you would only pick yourself up.
Can
right?
you imagine every single time you fall on the ground, you're just
prepared for it? Yeah, but seriously though, like when would you ever perform that same movement pathway of a bench press? If there was something really heavy that you needed to pick up off the ground, like you're not lying down on your back and picking it up, you would more than likely do some variation of a deadlift, right? Yeah. But the actual bench press, when would you ever do that? So when you have like massive amounts of weight, particularly weight that maybe you're maxing out and you can't pick it back up, like you're kind of, I mean, so it's definitely an odd situation in that like you're practicing something that you're never going to actually apply to real life in that sense. But I mean, this is why I really like calisthenics and gymnastic strength training.
Yeah, I'm getting more into it. Love it.
You create massive functional, and I think even the word functional
is totally ninja.
Messed up. Yeah, I mean, people say they're like people now. It's like, oh yeah, you squat when you sit on the toilet, so you should work on squats. And it's like, well, maybe it's a little bit more complicated.
Do you like the Asian squat though? When you lift the seat and then do you sit on the portion?
Sit on top.
Or you stand on the portion? Like,
is that what you do?
No, but I think I want to. You know, like maybe the rebellious side, because you see that when you go to the bathrooms here, they're like, no durian, and don't stand on the toilet. Those like the main things.
There's a couple of those infographics or whatever. It's like, these are the 20 ways you don't use a toilet, and it's like, you know, like some people would like face the back of the toilet.
Oh, my friend does that all the time because you have like a little ledge to nap on if you.
Yeah.
You know, sometimes you're just in there for a minute, right?
Yeah.
Especially when you're on the carnivore diet, and that doesn't come out as easy as when you're eating plants.
Are you still doing that now?
Carnivore?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm like
mostly maybe.
Yeah, dude. Yesterday I went to the goat place and I had like 3 goat brains. It was good.
What?
Goat brains.
Goat brains.
Goat brains. Have you had that? Yeah.
I haven't had the brains.
It's good.
They had the brains there.
Yeah, it's like in this banana leaf.
Yeah.
I tried getting like one, but I kept on like, you know how like some people here, they won't really like clarify, okay, yeah, your order is through. Yeah. They'll just look at you like you're stupid, because maybe I was, and then they'll just go away and start like cooking food. So I think I told at least 4 different Indonesian people like cooking. I was like, yo, like, you got the brain? You got the, like, I was touching my head just to make sure. Yeah. Bro, they brought out the soup, and Safina was there, and she was just like, mate, you got 6 brains. I was like, what? Dude, I was in this one wrong. I spent 200,000 rupiah when like it took, like, yeah, man. That's one of the biggest things. And when they looked at me, they're like, you want satay? 1? And I'm like, no, I don't want just 1 stick. I want 5.
Yeah.
They gave me 5 portions of meat satay. I thought they were just giving me 5 sticks.
Yeah. How much is each portion?
I don't even know, but
usually it's like 3 or 4. Or even no, 6.
No, there was
6.
A lot.
Usually it's 6 for each portion.
I had a lot, and I had 3 soups. Literally, the bill for that goat. Have you been?
No, a long time ago. Yeah.
200,000 rupiah.
Yeah.
That's nuts. And we're wrong, you know?
Yeah. No, that's quite a lot.
That's like a quarter of the goat. You know?
We should do that one time though, where we should just go buy a goat, or buy a pig, or something like that.
But they're so sad when you see them. Like, one of my friends, Simone and Hanson, they're vegan, and they're hating the fact that I'm like doing this carnivore thing, and I can see it because, like, you know, you see them in their like confined little spaces, and they're just like, they don't know where they're about to go.
Sure.
You know, it's kind of like, I don't know, it's so sad, right? And but then I kind of just turn the eye when I go eat the buffet.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it from a nature perspective, like there's not a whole lot of animals that are very emotional about the food they're about to eat. I mean, you don't really see probably a lot of carnivorous animals like being like, oh, this is my baby, I'm not going to eat it. It's like they just eat it, right?
But do you think like AI and artificial intelligence will do that to us? Like they're gonna be like human artificial intelligence, and then like vegan artificial intelligence.
What are you thinking about, like the
vegans and carnivores of AI?
Oh, okay.
You know, like for example, you have the AI that's like Dom, where it's like, oh, these humans are like doing our bidding, and you have like the more passive vegan AIs, where it's like, oh, these humans are suffering. I would actually want AI to be more vegan than carnivore.
Sure, I suppose but yeah, you would not want I mean, but that's saying like you don't want predators, right? It's just saying you.
So I would just have to adapt. You're saying
any prey would not want predators. Like that's just why would they want predators?
Yeah. I don't know, but then, yeah, it just gets weird when you go into that realm.
Yeah.
Because it's like, I don't know, maybe if I should take more mobility Nirvana Strength classes to really combat the next evolution of mankind.
Well, I mean, yeah, part of the nutrition part, right, is, I mean, have you felt different, like eating the diet?
Well, one of the biggest things is the first week, I couldn't retain water. I was also scared because I wasn't, like, pooping regularly. I was like, what's going on? This used to be a daily thing, and now it's just like all right, you know.
But I think, the more that I think about it is, like, should you really be, taking your shit 3 times a day? You know what I mean? Like,
all I know is when my dog eats, she poops within 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah.
That seems like pretty healthy, you know?
Yeah, but what are you feeding your dog, though?
Meat.
Like real meat.
She was sick.
Yeah.
You saw it on the
most
story.
people are feeding them, right? What we manufacture is dog food, and most dog food tends to be very high
carbs.
Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. She was sick. She needed a blood transfusion. Do you remember that? Like, I was like telling her, I was like, we need to find a dog. He's like heavy to do blood transfusion. We found the dog. But then the vet was like, you should just feed her raw meat. I kid you not, overnight, she didn't need a blood transfusion anymore because she was anemic.
Just drank all the blood.
Yeah, basically. She was like anemic, and then you saw her gums. It was like pale. Yeah. And then within a day, her personality came back. Yeah. And I'm like, man, there's probably some humans out there that are in this rut, and they don't even know that that's the rut they're in because that's their normal.
Well, I mean, you think about, animals, like, let's say dogs who are pets, like, there's a lot of vegan owners that will have a dog, and they'll be like, oh, yeah, my dog is vegan. It's like, well, your dog doesn't really have a choice. They just feed it what you give it. And that's very similar to, like, the gladiators of old, right? They were slaves. They were just fed.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Yeah. So there's sometimes, like, I've heard, the vegan argument that, like, these massively strong dudes who were gladiators were on only a vegan diet. Well, I was like, well, they probably had...
They were also slaves.
They were slaves. They were fed only what they were given, and meat's expensive, so they're not going to get meat because they have a very short lifespan. They're going to die in, like, 2 days because they're going to fight soon.
So their shreddedness is just starvation.
Well, yeah, most of it. I mean, think about someone who's, like, skinny, like, really skinny, but has, like, a raging six-pack, like...
It's like a fat girl with big boobs.
Sure, yeah, that's a good example, too. It doesn't it counts as much. But
or a Korean that breakdances.
Korean, I mean, that's pretty much all Koreans.
It's almost cheating.
It is, like, cheating.
That and karaoke.
You do karaoke?
Yeah, I'll dabble in some karaoke. You want to do some karaoke? I've never, but I'm down. Yeah.
Well, you were just breaking out to the song earlier, right?
Yeah, that'd be cool. There was this thing that I wanted when I was younger, and before I got into business and sales and marketing. My biggest angle was I was like, I'm gonna be that Asian guy that travels the world with his ukulele and sings songs. But then when you're traveling with a ukulele, everyone's always just like, yo, play me a song, play. I'm like, oh, fuck this. And the ukulele is very hard to travel with. It breaks very easily.
Does it?
Yeah. Plus, I'm not that good of a singer, but I'll karaoke sesh if you want.
I'm not big into karaoke very
Really?
much. I've only done it when I'm drunk.
Yeah, we'll get some soul juice.
Yeah.
Soul juice.
Soju, yeah.
Not soul juice.
No, well, you could call it.
It is soul juice.
It is soul juice.
Yeah.
So you're working on stuff now, optimizing.
Like
your
fitness
life?
wise?
No, just business wise.
Well, I think one of the biggest things, right? Because all business is networking and reallocating the network's resources to certain things that solve a pain point, right? So one of the biggest things I'm super excited about is even what we're doing right now, podcasting. Because, for example, people here in Bali, but you don't actually really know them until you have a 1 hour, 2 hour conversation, kind of like what we did.
Yeah.
Where you're just kind of authentically saying what's on the top of your mind. You're not reading any scripts. And not only will the person in front of you relate with you, but the audience that you're building, they actually know the real you instead of the fabricated you.
Well, there's so much of social media now that is basically any professional models do a photo shoot, like they have like tens and thousands of photos, and they're gonna select 3 that they and then the 3 best ones, and then they're gonna edit those photos before they put them online.
Insane,
and it's the same idea with Instagram, right?
Well, it's like crazy when you see like some of these girls on Instagram. They're beautiful. They're like models. They're like, holy crap! Like I just feel so inadequate if I just said hi to her or something. Then you see them in real life and they look like they're 12. You know?
Sure.
Like I remember I was one of my close friends. He would always try to find a way to hit on girls on the beach.
Yeah.
And we were doing this video where we wanted to invite strangers to a villa that we rented.
Okay.
We just thought, okay,
that
well,
sounds kind of creepy, but sure.
No, it was not, it wasn't a creepy way because we got this like villa and it was just me and him.
Yeah.
We were like, man, this is boring. What if we got every single person in so many different ethnicities for like a family dinner without them knowing each other? Like we're just gonna come up, we're gonna say what's up, and then they say yes, then they get free food at this villa, and they communicate.
Sure.
So Ari was going around all of these places. Like, man, it was so savage. He went down to the beach, and it was just like you literally saw all these people looking at Ario as he's just like going down, and he's the most courageous person that can do anything when everyone's like saying, "Oh, I can't believe he's like getting rejected," and he's still saying hi to more people.
Yeah.
And like he said hi to these like people that looked super. They're like maybe 21 or 22. They're like really skinny. They didn't really have what's called like the curvy physique. You know, more like super skinny.
Sure.
So I just thought they were just like regular girls.
Yeah.
And like, oh, let's just exchange Instagrams.
Yeah.
And then you look at their Instagram, and like, holy crap. You do not look like that in real person.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah. You said that to them though.
No. I'm not an asshole. I guess I'm an asshole, but no, I was just surprised because I think one of the biggest things, especially with online, is you could build such a big brand, but then when they meet you, do they like you as a person?
Well, I mean, this is the basic idea of like, let's say, like meeting apps like Tinder and Bumble, or even in Korea, they still have to give a photo of themselves in their application
like
for
their
jobs.
Passport.
Well, not their passport, but it's
for Tinder or for jobs.
For jobs.
Okay.
Yeah, for jobs. So like looking good is like an important. They see it as an important aspect of getting hired. Like, I guess particularly for certain jobs, but that's how we judge a lot of people from the initial point of view. I mean, when we have interviews, like the first thing you do is you get dressed up into a suit.
Yeah.
I think going on first dates is exactly like being on an interview, right? Like so many.
Especially if you go in the West, like where do you go to school?
And then so many people also put on like a persona. They put on a mask of someone who they're truly not.
Yeah.
They will, in Korea, one of the big things is that the woman will pretend that they don't really eat very much.
Yeah.
Because if they were to eat a lot of food on the first date, then the man would assume that they're gonna be fat when they get older.
But she's binge eating in the back.
She's been she
has that pork, that goat, that brain, everything.
Or they're overly feminine, right? Because like some men really like feminine women.
But it's not them, right?
Well, it's not them, truly.
Yeah.
And then until they get married, and then they're caught, and then it's like, all right, you're my husband now. Like I'm gonna be my real self.
Mm-hmm. It's worse in Thailand when like it turns out that it's actually a dude you married. You know?
Yeah.
I think that'd be the biggest thing, but I think that's so hard because when you're not your authentic self, and you're not pursuing what it is that lights your soul on fire, it's almost like you're living a lie. You also get more drained of energy. Like, ever notice, for example, when you love something, it brings you on an upward spiral, as opposed to if you're doing something that you hate, it brings you on a downward spiral. It's the exact same thing with personalities. If you're wearing a mask that you're wearing just to please other people, it almost takes more from you.
How do you have a process or is there a way for you to kind of identify like who you like to associate with? Like, I mean, I'm guessing you would want to be more with people who are true to themselves or more authentic.
See, this is when it actually gets really weird though, because when does it get to the point, if I were to do that, then my ego gets in the way, and then I just turn into this person that's like, oh, I'm not going to hang out with that person because, he's not this, right? Or I'm not going to hang out with her because she doesn't have this. It's such like a weird balance, man, because, for example, you could also have the argument where you could say that my reaction to you is just a reflection of me.
Sure.
My perception of you is just an awareness of me. Who's to say that if you're judging somebody else, it's because maybe deep down I'm actually 10 times more insecure of the very thing that I'm judging that person for.
Yeah.
So,
but your time at the end of the day is very limited, and who you can spend. I mean, you're deciding to spend time with me to do this podcast. Like, there's definitely got to be some situations where it's like, this is not going to work out. I'm just going to cut my losses like quick and get out of here. Mm-hmm. Are there any specific things you look for with regards to like who you want to like delve deeper into your relationships with?
Yeah, I see where you're coming from. Like for everyone, I'll try my best not to judge, no matter where they're at, because I mean it's always just like an exercise on your ego and the story that you're telling in your brain. I was talking to Devin in one of the podcasts we were doing, and he was doing this amazing concept of like the narratives that you're telling yourself on autopilot when you're not even noticing that they're there. So it's always good to just not judge. But in terms of who I actually want to spend my time with, one of the things that helps is not being on my phone too much or going on airplane mode. So like I'll get their notifications way, way, way later where it's already passed. And I generally choose to just spend most of my time with people that resonate with me, you know? And certain times, one of the things I also do is like getting into conversations with people that maybe intimidate me. Right? Like I remember I got in a conversation with Devin and I was like, man, this guy's so intellectual and so smart. I'm going to sound like such a dumbass in this podcast. Like, fuck, should I just like back out? He's
a walking thesaurus. Like he has so much information in his head.
We did a podcast. 10 minutes in, I'm asking the questions that I thought I needed to ask and I'm getting drained. I'm like, oh man, like he's getting so like cerebral. I'm like, because he's so smart. He's like a philosopher, right? Yeah. And then 10 minutes in, I'm like, okay, screw my ego. I'm just going to tell him, bro, I do not understand anything that you're saying. Yeah. Can we like dumb it down for me? Yeah. And when I was just true to my word on exactly what I was feeling, that's when the conversation took a life of its own. And that's, I think, one of the biggest things, to be like authentic with people. Yeah. Don't be an asshole. Be like, no, I can't. You're too low vibrational. You know?
Well, yeah, I mean, I think it's one of the hard things about, and when people conversate with someone like Devin, who's a very high level thinker, is that he, depending on what the topic is and how deep the conversation is going to get, like there is an assumption that the people that you're speaking with just understand what you're saying. They'll just, it's not that he thinks that you're like super smart or super dumb or whatnot. He just thinks that what his level of thinking of everything is like, there's many of the people that he conversates with are on a very similar level.
But then there's also that feeling that you don't want to like sound stupid, so you just nod your head.
Well, yeah. It's like when people are reading a book and they come across words they don't understand, and they're just like, I'll understand it from the context of the situation. Yeah. And they won't actually go and look in a book or a dictionary and find out what the meaning of the word is.
And they won't grow.
Yeah, and then having conversations with him too. Like I used to be very. Sometimes we can be shaped by our environment. So I spent, 10 years teaching basic speaking English to all these students in university and academies and stuff. And I've realized like through my conversations with him and Dom and just like normal high level speakers of English that like my English level has just gone down. And I just speak in the most simplest terms because that's just who my audience was always, that's who I was talking to. So it just kind of helped to some extent, because now I take like Devin's really like high level complicated ideas and I just immediately tried to break it down into the most simplest form I can think of. And that was like one of the suggestions I got, I think, with regards to like our captions on Instagram, was like, just pretend that your audience is like a bunch of 5 and 7-year-olds. Yeah. And I think too, being able to break things down to a super simplistic form allows you to have a better understanding of what you're actually doing.
Yeah, I think Einstein said anybody can overcomplicate things. It takes a genius to simplify things. I think that's what's also one of Devin's strengths, because when he realizes that you don't understand them, like what I did, the dude I don't understand you, he was able to break it down in the most like elementary metaphors that actually allowed me to understand, which just makes him a far more like really good, effective coach and teacher.
He's really good at stories too, that help people understand the ideas much better.
Yeah, That's like the biggest thing I think when you're dealing with high caliber people. But it's also the exact same thing, for example, in fitness, right? And I learned this lesson a couple days ago with Daryl when he was like lifting. It's kind of like the same concept of being worried about sounding like you're stupid, so you never ask, and because of that you never grow. There are times where I was just focusing on lifting as much heavy weight as possible, and I didn't ever want to ask anybody for help because I'm like, well, what if they judge me? What if they think that I'm stupid? What if I'm doing this wrong? I'm just gonna like win the respect by lifting more weights.
Sure.
And I'm like I'm lifting with my ego. I'm doing like these snatches, and then I'm putting like the yellow ones on, so whatever that 15
kilos.
Yeah, which is like I haven't trained snatches for a long time, so that like I was like wobbling and going crazy. And you see Daryl, he's like this big dude, man. Like the first thing that I told him when I met him, I was like, dude, like I would never want to fight you. That was like like people say hi. Yeah. That was the first thing that I said before he knew me. I was like, dude, you look like you would just mess me up. He was lifting with just the green weights, which is
10 kilos.
10, yeah. But the form was good and everything was good, and then and he's huge. And most of the times you go to the gym, you never want to be the one with the lightest weights because, like always, you would be afraid to get judged, right?
Yeah, I mean you find it a lot in very high testosterone environments, right?
Yeah.
When you have like a CrossFit gym, you walk in, and as soon as you walk in, you feel it, right? You just feel so much testosterone like running through the gym. People automatically judging you. If you're a big dude, it's automatic assumption is like, oh, this guy lifts a ton of weight, I'm gonna watch him lift a big heavy weight. But it can be hard to put your ego aside and really focus on the very specific things that you need to get better. I mean, this applies to other aspects of life as well, too, right?
To be humble.
Humbling is, that's tough. And being open-minded enough to know that there could be a better way of doing things. Yeah.
I think that's the problem with most people is they just let the ego get it. Because they'd rather keep on doing what they're doing than prove what they were doing was wrong. So they'll end up hurting themselves. Either if not physically, then emotionally. If not emotionally, then financially. Not financially, then spiritually, right?
Yeah. I mean, it isn't such a bad mindset to be always under the assumption that there could be a better way of doing things. That no matter what your level of expertise is, like always being open to the possibility that there could be something that could make your life significantly easier. Yeah. No matter how... Sometimes people mistake being lucky for being good at something. I mean, you see a lot among like stockbrokers and stuff. But I'm sure even some areas that you've like worked on. I mean, there's definitely some people that will do. Maybe they get one viral video, right, or they get one viral whatever, like even a song. Or you see it like in musicians, right? You'll get one amazing song and then they just disappear. And it's like, what happened to these people? It's like, well,
where are they now?
Yeah,
you see them on the reel. Where are they now?
Where are they now? Yeah.
Where are they now?
Yeah, that's a very interesting. I mean, that could be even a motivator, right? Like, I don't want to be that one-hit wonder. That's a big motivating factor, I think.
It wouldn't be bad to be like a one-hit wonder. I was talking to Devin, I was like, man, like if we were ever a one-hit wonder, which country would you want to be in? He's like, dude, China. Imagine living like the Hannah Montana life where you go to China, you're famous, you live a lavish life, and then you could go back to America and live like a normal life. You know? That'd be pretty fun.
Yeah. No, it would be good. But, I mean, sometimes one-hit wonders can survive. Like, they can be famous for forever, really. Yeah. And they just live off of
to be known as that one-hit wonder guy or girl.
Yeah, I don't know. That's a hard question.
Would you want to be?
No.
You wouldn't be Ian anymore. You would be the guy, like the backpack kid. If you ever see that backpack kid that was doing the floss. I don't know. Like being known as the person that does that floss dance move or whatever.
Sure. I don't know. Would you?
No.
Yeah, see.
I want to more like keep myself. Like when I first started my brand, I wore like a red bandana and glasses to see if it could be like my Clark Kent, really? You know? Yeah. People would only notice me when my glasses and my red bandana. Yeah. And my hair was like unruly. It was like very froey. And I was like, okay, when I go out in public, I'll put contacts on. Like I'll cut my hair.
Well, this was kind of an interesting thing with like Dave Chappelle, right? Was like he just ended up getting so famous that he just like didn't want to be famous. Like not to the extent that he was. and then he ended up just basically just falling off the planet and just going off and doing his own thing and just disappearing.
Yeah, I think it's like intention though, because I feel like you could use fame as a tool, but when you're just using fame just for fame, then it becomes empty. Like there's some famous people that could use their audience to build amazing charities. They could bring a bunch of attention to certain worldly matters, right? But I feel like most people got into fame for the wrong reasons, and because of that, they lose themselves. Or when they got famous, they're like, holy crap, this isn't what I expected, and now they're stuck going to freaking every Whole Foods and like, oh, can I get an autograph? Can I get a picture? You know? Yeah. It'd be annoying. That's why I would only want to be famous in China and just get the fuck out, you know?
Yeah, it would be interesting to be famous in only a very specific country, so then you can just leave that country at any point and just be another person. Yeah.
Dope.
So what's you said you had a book out? What's this book you did?
The Lazy Man's Guide to Living the Good Life.
Yeah, that's a cool title, man. I like that. Yeah.
Yeah, I wrote it in a day.
In a day. How long is this book?
150 pages, 60 pages. Yeah, I was just like, I had a good outline, and I was just like, yeah, it's basically the first part of my life up until when I moved to Thailand.
Okay.
Yeah, so before I was doing a lot of things from like backpacking Europe to backpacking all of America to spending 30 days in Vegas. And so on and so forth, or when I was in Peru. That was like the first chapter, but it's, I feel like super old. I feel like I've for sure changed from when I written that book.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like
so cool. When's the last time you reviewed it? Like, are there specific things that you would change or write?
Oh yeah, like certain things. For sure the language, maybe, because I'm just like writing this from stream of consciousness. Just like when people read it, they're like, man, it literally reads like as if you were talking. Because I wasn't thinking, I was just like, yeah.
Okay. So what have you done since then?
Man, I mean, I lived in Thailand, I lived here. It's like, it's weird that that's pretty much the same person, but it's almost like now I feel like getting a little bit older, you know, I have to focus on more things like impact instead of just, okay, and it's not actually about going and meeting girls. It's not just about making more money. It's not about just doing all these things. It's about, well, what's like the legacy you're going to leave behind? Right? What's, like they say that a man dies twice. The first time is when they're just dead. The second time is when their name is said out loud for the last time. So it's like, what man do I need to be to leave such an impact and such a crater that... And then it goes back to ego, like, well, fuck you, Mike. Like, why do you want your name to actually be said?
Yeah.
You know? So, I don't know. I feel like where I'm at in my life right now, I just want to... Dude, at the end of the day, all we're really striving for is just love and connection and community, right?
Yeah.
So how can I optimize my entire life for that? This podcast is one way. Networking with cool people, getting good friends with videographers and photographers. Just like influencers in general, because when the time comes and I want to do something epic, then what's like the big family that I'm going to create?
Yeah.
You know?
I think, I mean, the idea of having your name, you know, last, I mean, that's something that idea of having that happen has been around for a really long time. I mean, think about the emperors and
why do we want that though? Like, I'm even talking a lot. I'm like, why do I want that?
I mean, definitely people want to leave a legacy. I don't know. They always want to be remembered for sure. I mean, I think it's partially too, it's just people are afraid of being forgotten. Like, they die, right, obviously, and now there's like, then like they're afraid of the afterlife. Like, what is it?
Right.
But I do, for me, it's not so much about leaving a particular legacy that people can like speak or they could see, is that if you could, and this is where I think of with regards to like having a massive ripple effect on the people around you and the environment that you're in, is that if you can instill a certain lifestyle or behavioral changes in people around you to be something that helps them in themselves, like become a better person, but even encourages them to then pass that knowledge and that education off to the next person.
Like a network marketing company.
Kind of, yeah. But
love and hugs.
I mean, eventually people will live a certain way and behave in a certain way that it would help them be like this. What we're doing, we're trying to optimize, right? So if you can encourage the most amount of people to even have the mindset of just becoming a better person, sure, like, you know, someone maybe, you know, 500 years later would be like, oh man, where'd you hear about this like particular system or plan or whatever? I think it's kind of the idea of like with Stoicism, right? Is that there's so many self-help books now that are kind of like, basically they're just interpretations of this original text or this original philosophy. And if we can just kind of continue to help mankind just become better versions of themselves, I think that's a cool thing to kind of leave behind. Unfortunately, we're all going to have, I mean, the chances of actually having your name remembered, like for like Marcus Aurelius and
you never know though, because I bet you they didn't even know. They didn't have this thing like, oh, they're going to talk about me for years, right? Yeah. I think ultimately what it comes down to is like,
but you're dead though. So you're dead though.
Yeah, but then you don't even know. Fuck,
yeah,
right?
Exactly.
Yeah, they don't know. They're getting some clout. Marcus Aurelius Instagram follow.
Yeah.
Right. Seneca the Younger follow. At the end of the day, I feel like you just don't want to put anything to waste, right? Like we have this one life. We don't know what happens on the other side, right? It could be something awesome. It could be just be oblivion. But like, would you really just? Because everyone's all human beings. Nothing separates us from amazing people. Nothing separates amazing people from homeless people. It's like at the end of the day, when you have one shot at life and you're going to die, are you going to make something that truly inspires? Like the ripple effect that you're talking about.
Well, I suppose, I mean, as we're living, you know, the people who are more well off, you know, of course they, you know, generally... Well, some people perceive them as living better lives because they just have more access to stuff. Not necessarily, I mean, there's definitely a lot of studies that say that you can only, up to a certain amount of money, like it is not going to make you happier.
Yeah, I think it was like 60 grand.
60, 70,000 or something like that. I mean, of course.
But in Bali, it'd be like...
Wow, it's like, you don't even 20,000. You're living in a fantastic life.
What you want? We're wrong every day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Goat, you want some goat brain? You're good.
But I think... with the advances that we have now into like anti-aging, stem cells, you know, people are looking for this idea of like holy grail, how can I live longer? Now you have a lot of money, and having a lot of money extends your life, right? Like could significantly, right? You could theoretically, if you just had a ton of money and you were able to live until 150 years old and still be like super healthy, like then you have like, poor people who they always had the idea that no matter how good somebody had it, well, everybody's going to die at some point. So that's kind of something that kind of equalizes everybody. But if you had like super rich people who eventually were like immortals, then... Oh,
have you ever seen that movie? It was like with Justin Timberlake.
No, I did
not see. You know what I'm talking about?
Movie would just, no,
you know what I'm talking about? It's called In Time.
Is,
it's talking about In Time, where basically no one ages. Everyone just has this money, and it's called time. And you could transfer it to other people, and you pay in time, which is essentially what people do.
Okay.
It's like a pretty dope movie. And then the rich people have all of these like machines that has all the time in the world. So you literally, every single day you see it, and then once it gets to 0, you're dead.
Yeah.
So whenever they would work, they would actually get paid in time, so then their number would go up. And then most people that were in the working class, they only had like 2 or 4 years, and then they would just... make enough. And then you saw like some of these millionaires on their arm, it would be like 1 million years.
Wow.
And they would pay for in time.
But would they would be able to actually live for that long?
Yeah.
Oh.
And it'd be crazy because the movie was dope because he was in a poker tournament.
Yeah.
And
was it a good movie?
It was a really good metaphor.
Like a good story.
Yeah, it's a really good story. Yeah, it was pretty good. Yeah. I wouldn't say it's the best. It could have been better. Yeah, In Time.
Okay.
I think that's what it is.
With Justin Bieber.
But literally, like, he was doing a bet, and then it literally got down to like 1 minute.
Yeah.
And then he ended up winning it, and then he got like 50 years.
Yeah.
And it was crazy, man. It was crazy. But it's also kind of what you were talking about.
Yeah.
Most people right now that work jobs that they hate, they're basically just trading their time for money. So it's essentially the same.
Yeah, I mean, think about the coal miners. You're working very dangerous, hazardous jobs. Like you're sacrificing huge amounts of time for maybe a big payout that may or may not happen. And if it does, then great, you live great for a short period of time. But
you also have like black lungs, so you're not even gonna enjoy it. You know?
Yeah, that's tough. You know, it's tough to enjoy money when you're dying. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And maybe we should probably talk about something a little bit happier before we end on a sad
No, we'll just end. Guys, life is short. You're going to die. Live your life.
Yeah.
Outro.
Yeah, so what's next on your docket? You're just kind of living life, huh?
Dude, my next one is all you can eat meat right now.
Man, that's a big one. I mean, I think that's when
It's
the
like
Dom is
food.
like taking over the gym with
he's like a venereal disease. He's like the carnivore chlamydia. You know?
Okay.
Seriously, I've never met such a person whose beliefs were so rapidly widespread in a short amount of time. He literally came here, and then everyone's carnivore.
Yeah, it's definitely
one man. What he's gonna leave a legacy of meat eaters.
Yeah. And he's bringing a big meat eating kind of conference or something like that. Yeah, he is. Yeah.
Wow.
That'll be quite interesting.
Yeah, I would just love to see where everyone eats after and to make sure I show up an hour early.
Probably. There'll probably be no food.
Yeah. Might have to.
What do your friends think about you? I mean, besides Simone and others.
I mean, at the end of the day, I'm not really like imposing any beliefs on anyone.
Yeah.
I think it gets unhealthy when you're like, you have to be vegan or you have to be carnivore, you know?
Yeah, I think that's, I think with any it's weird that nutrition has become such a belief
religion.
System. Yeah, like, and I don't particularly like the zealotry of any, diets, especially when we don't really know a ton about nutritional science. Like we do know a lot, but there was one thing that Dom said, was like, we're like the one animal in the world that doesn't even know what the hell we're supposed to be eating, like we're jumping
or doing in our life.
Yeah, no idea of purpose, right?
We're just freaking meat sacks.
We're super smart, but also super stupid at the same time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, there's some present animals that look so happy and they don't have anywhere. They don't have to worry about taxes. They don't have to worry about, paying the mortgage. They're just like running around naked and having a good time, eating food, not really caring about, I can't eat spinach today or I can't eat gluten. They're just,
Yeah, I gotta make a podcast.
I gotta make a podcast. But I feel like we've gotten so smart, and it's kind of like the disease of abundance, to have so much information in the palm of your hands, to be willing and able to do anything you ever want out of life, and having too much options that you just default to not doing anything.
Yeah. No, very true, man. I mean, even deciding like what kind of exercise regime you want to do, like, there's so many options.
Like, there's animals trying to survive. They don't give a fuck about you squatting versus you like hand cleaning,
Yeah. No, very true, man. Cool. So you're going to go get some meat now, yeah?
Yeah, lots.
Yeah. Cool.
Bacon. You ate 2 kilograms. I don't know. Maybe I should start weighing.
That was one time, yeah. You should weigh it one time and see how it goes.
I feel like I ate a lot, though.
Yeah, but it's always interesting. You can always try to up yourself every time you go.
Yeah, but then when does it get to the point where it's just like an ego thing?
3
I'm
kilos.
just like,
3 kilos.
3 kilos before you die?
Probably. Dom says, like, there actually is a certain amount of meat that you would eat before your body starts rejecting it.
Well, I mean, because the stomach is finite. So, of course, unless you're like constantly pooping it out as you're eating, there's like a physical limitation for how much food.
Yeah.
Unless if you're at Korean barbecue, then there's like no bottom.
No bottom.
Zero. Because you'll digest it by the time the next plate comes in. Because they're so thin, You can smash a lot of meat, I think, in Korean barbecue.
True. Cool.
Yeah, so this is sponsored to you by Korean barbecue.
Korean barbecue. All right. Well, thank you, everybody. Thanks again to Mike Vestil for coming on. I'm sure we'll have him come on again in the future and talk more specifics about projects, where he's at, things he's working on.
The meat I'm eating.
Yeah. Where can everybody find you?
MikeVestil.com. Everything's there.
Yeah. Instagram and YouTube and everything.
It's all there. Everything's there.
It'll all be posted too with the post as well. Thank you again for listening to the Nirvana Strength Practitioners panel, and see you in Bali at Nirvana Strength.
See you there.